I am making a traditional Belgian Hutsepot. Historically, this dish was a way to use every part of a slaughtered animal, a true nose to tail classic. It's a hearty, rustic stew packed with chunky winter vegetables and some of the tougher, often overlooked cuts of meat. I am making a pork Hutsepot today, but you can also make this with mutton. Don't get this dish confused with the Dutch Hutspot, without the E. While the names sound similar, the dishes couldn't be more different. The Dutch version is typically a smooth potato mash with carrots and onions, which we in Belgium would call a stoemp. Our Belgian Hutsepot, however, is all about those big, chunky pieces without any mashing. For the meat, I'm using 1 pork trotter, 2 ham hocks, a tail, a tongue and a pork ear. I did order a pig snout as well, but my butcher couldn't get one in time. The pork ear had a bit of dirt inside, so I will have to give that a quick rinse. You can absolutely make this using just a couple of ham hocks, but using these extra cuts is a traditional way to go. They provide an incredible depth of flavor and plenty of natural gelatin to the stock. I'm preparing my stock a day in advance, but you can easily do this on the day itself. For the aromatics, I'm using onions, celery and carrots, plus an old leek I had in the fridge. Perfect for stock. I will clean the onions and roughly chop them. I usually buy small onions because a large one often feels like too much for cooking at home. Though I must admit, cleaning a whole pile of these for a stock can be a bit of a hassle. For the carrots and celery, I just trim the ends and chop them into large pieces. I cut the leek in half, keeping the root intact to wash it thoroughly under running water before dicing. For the herbs, I'm putting together fresh thyme, rosemary, cloves and bay leaves. I place the pork and the vegetables into a large pot with a generous pinch of salt and black peppercorns. I cover everything with fresh cold water and bring it to a soft boil. I'm going to let it simmer gently for 4 hours. I make sure to occasionally skim off any foam to keep the stock clear and nice. Once the time is up, I remove the meat and strain the vegetables, and let the cleared stock cool down before placing it in the fridge overnight. It's time to prep the meat. I start with the tongue while it's still warm, as the skin is much easier to peel off then. I use a paring knife for the tricky bits and cut the meat into smaller pieces. The throat part of the tongue came loose during cooking. That's mostly fat, so I will pick out the meat and discard the rest. Next is the tail. There isn't much meat there, but I will separate what I can find from the skin and cartilage. As for the ear and trotter, there is almost no meat, just fat and cartilage. I'm going to discard them. They have done their job by flavoring the stock and providing that essential collagen. You can eat the ear, but my Western palate isn't used anymore to that kind of texture. Finally, the ham hocks. See how effortlessly the bone comes away? I will separate the meat from the fat, cartilage and bone, cutting the larger pieces of meat into more bite-sized pieces. I place all my separated meat in the fridge for now. It is now the next day and you can see the fat has solidified on top of the stock. I will scrape that away with a spoon, trying to take as little of stock as possible. As you can see, I was able to fold all the fat over itself and remove it in almost one go. Look at our beautiful gelatinous texture. You know you have made liquid gold when the stock looks like this. Now for the Hutsepot itself. Since it's a winter dish, I'm using classic winter vegetables, carrots, celery and leek, along with some turnips and Brussels sprouts. I also have half of a Chinese cabbage in my fridge. Most cabbages go great in a dish like this. The carrots, I start by peeling them and trimming the ends. And cut them into medium-sized pieces. The same for the turnips. I cut off the top and root end and peel them and dice them in medium-sized pieces. The celery, I trim off the leaves and smaller stalks and cut them in bite-sized pieces. I do the same for the large stalk of celery. The leeks, these are notorious for hiding sand. I remove the dark green leaves and split them lengthwise, leaving the root attached. And give them a thorough rinse under some running water. Then I will chop them into thick half rounds. The Brussels sprouts, I'm just trimming the tough woody base and remove any loose or yellow outer leaves, and I will keep these whole. The Chinese cabbage, I just chop them into large ribbons. The potatoes, I'm peeling these and cutting them into large chunks. I'm using a floury variety. As they cook, the edges will soften and break down, which is exactly what I need to naturally thicken the stock. To give the dish an extra layer of flavor, I'm adding about 150 grams, a bit more than 5 ounces of cold smoked bacon. I remove the rind and cut it into small lardons. I transfer the bacon into a cold cast iron pot and turn the heat to medium. This allows the fat to render out slowly while giving the bacon some color. Then I would add the vegetables, and my stock. It actually would have been easier to melt the stock first, as it's currently just sitting on top of the vegetables. So I'm lowering my heat and cover the pot so the stock can melt down. I want my vegetables to be nearly submerged, but not quite. I will bring it to a boil and let everything cook for about 25 minutes until tender. Now here is where the name of the dish comes from. Every so often I give the pot a good shake. Hutsen is an old Dutch word for to shake. This breaks down the potatoes, releasing their starch, which thickens the stew. After 20 minutes I add the meat back in just to warm through. We Belgians, we love our meat, and Hutsepot is traditionally served with a sausage on the side. I'm serving mine with Chipolata, a thin, flavorful pork sausage. You don't have to do this, as a Hutsepot is a complete meal on its own, but it is the traditional way. I will fry the chipolatas in a pan with some butter while the stew finishes up. I give the Hutsepot a final taste and season with salt and pepper as needed. To serve, I ladle the stew into a deep bowl and place the chipolata right on top. A true taste of Belgian tradition. Enjoy!